Thanks so much for doing this, by the way, Professor.
It's my pleasure, guys. Thank you very much for putting this together. I know you guys shared a great deal of struggle over there with the pandemic, with the lockdowns being extended for so long, and that's why I want to do this. I want to help any way I can, all the Grace Bar schools. So you guys asked, I say, man, I gotta make some time for these guys and support them. I know what you guys been through.
For sure, yeah. What's the situation over in Chicago? Are you guys back to training, or what's the situation?
The school really has been open since June of last year, but but we had endless restrictions. So for a whole month we could only do solo drills, and then after we did a whole month of just light contact drills, and then for a whole month, the third month, around September, from September to October, we did one partner sparring. And then after that, a bubble of 3, a bubble of 4, a bubble of 6, a bubble of 10. And then
a long journey then.
Yeah, we have groups. But man, I guess my school is the schools that I'm behind, actually, because my students, guys are awesome. They're really disciplined and they're very focused on on the bigger picture. Nobody got too caught up on the moment, but everybody understands. We have a plan, we have a vision. So our school is still, everybody's still masked up, but this is about to change. We live now in June. We're dropping the masks, but to the instructors. The instructors gonna still continue masked, but all of us gonna be, all of our students gonna be mask free. And right. That will be as close as normal as we can get, but we have a lot of safety protocols inside the school still. I believe you guys have too. We invested on some ozone and ultraviolet technology to filter our air. And we also have cleaning stations, and the school is being shoeless since I remember, but now more than ever, we don't allow people with shoes inside the school. It's just right. To keep the school so much cleaner too. In the US, there is a big problem. I don't know how it is in UK. I don't remember it being that bad in UK, but in US, we have a big problem with staph infections.
Not so much of an issue over here. I've known one academy I've trained at in the last 20 years that's had staph, so it's not a major issue.
That's awesome. In the wrestling community and also in the MMA community is bad. Not so much in jiu-jitsu, but still. And man, we're very crazy about cleaning and what we're using on the mats. Make sure nobody catches any crazy bug. You see Gordon Ryan, the guy is in the big trouble because staph. But I don't remember that in Brazil, growing up over there. It was so funny, guys. I could really tell how the European population affected the indigenous populations around the world, because the first foreigners who came to Brazil in the early 90s to train with us, man, they bought everything, things that we never seen before. And there was this case. We didn't know what a ringworm was, and it's not because we're the most hygienic in the world. Brazilian people, because of the weather, we have this habit to shower several times a day, just because it's so humid and so hot. But with the geese, man, our guys, they used to hang the geese outside in the sun and just let the geese dry after training and go back with that geese. and the gi was all stiff, like on the sweat, and it was great for the first 5 minutes. But as soon as the gi was wet again, it would smell. So you had a lot of that in Brazil, and still we had no disease, no ringworm, no staph, no nothing. No mat bugs, basically.
Yeah, well, something we're really hot on over here as well. We want to, but I think it's as much for me. It's we're both ex-military, ex-Marines, so our standards are very high when it comes to hygiene.
Thank you for your service, by the way, guys.
Thank you. So for me, it's about trying to develop our members to try and achieve those standards too, just in their daily life. So you clean your gear every time after you train, you keep your nails short, you look after your training partners. That type of idea. Just helps to develop them as people too.
Oh, 100%. We are, in that sense, we are very militarized too, I couldn't agree more with you. I believe like our contribution extends way beyond the match to our students, So I wanted my students to be prepared to face life, to be competitive on the job market out there, to contribute to society. So, many of these kids, they learn things from us that the parents cannot reinforce. So yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. But going back to the staff, I have a funny story to share with you guys. It's not. It was actually about the ringworm. So the first foreigners come to Brazil and they start training with us in Grace Barra, and it was in the early 90s. And there was so we didn't know what ringworm was, and one of our friends got a little something on his head and didn't know, and kept training. The hair of it's a teenager, the hair started falling off, and we didn't know what was happening. So after a few months, he had like a bald spot right in the middle of his head. He looked like one of these like a Jesuits from the Middle Ages, with that like bald spot around his head and that red thing. It was horrible. And finally, one of the doctors that trained at the school said, "Man, you have to do a culture in your head. Something is not right over there." And sent him to a dermatologist, and then he got treated. But it was like we didn't know what was that, and he cut us out. But it's one of the bad things that happen when you guys start coming. Obviously, there are many.
Well, we extend an apology on behalf of the Europeans.
On behalf of the continent of Europe, yeah.
Professor, just we'll keep all this in, but just an official kind of welcome to the podcast. I'm T, this is Professor Mike, and we kind of wanted to get in touch with you after speaking to Professor Pedro Coelho over in Portugal, over at Cascais, and he was really excited. I was messaging him today, and he's excited to hear that you were coming on. I think one of the cool things to start off with, though, would just be like your origin into martial arts, because you got into like Taekwondo, was it when you were really young? Yeah,
man, I wish I had the picture over here to show you guys. Like actually the picture. Nene, can you keep this out of the? That was my biggest PJ. But it's right on my parents' home. Like they live like 3 miles away from here. But there's a picture they have a picture of my, like when I was 3, my parents first took me to martial arts. They took me to Taekwondo. That the main developer of Taekwondo in Brazil, it was a Korean guy, legit martial artist. A lot of people don't discredit Taekwondo nowadays because what has been done, what happened with the martial art. But man, back in the day, over 30 years ago, it was the real deal. And it's still a lot of people, they're like legit as far as they go with their Taekwondo and traditional martial arts training. But my father was friends with him, and he was friends also with the Gracie family. For some reason, he took me to him first. He had businesses with great grandmaster Carlos Sr. and with Hobson Gracie, the father of Enzo and Ryan Gracie. But afterwards, I guess I was destined to find jiu-jitsu. So I trained taekwondo when I was little, and that was a really good introduction to me to martial arts. And then when I was 9, 10, I was a former military guy. He was the captain of the judo team in the military in Brazil. And he lived in the same community as us, Sensei Pedroso. And all my friends start training judo. And I say, you know what? I want to do judo too. And I trained for 3-4 years. I loved that so much. And I thought I was a good ground fighter, you know. And I trained a little bit of kickboxing in between my transition from judo to jiu-jitsu. And finally, I started training jiu-jitsu.
It was when you were doing judo, when you got your nickname, right?
Yeah, but the nickname was really solidified like in Gracie Barra, man, because I was small, skinny, and scrappy. So that the
nightmare to roll with, yeah.
Yeah. So I was. So then it became Slippery. That's the translation of my nickname.
I think so. Just to on that, because we've got quite a lot of our members. Some of the guys are really quite slight and small, and they've got a real advantage if they use that kind of the ability to scramble well, the ability to get into spaces that bigger guys can't get into. I think. What do you say about that, Professor? If you were like that, do you agree?
Yeah, I'm 5'7", so I'm not that small, but I'm a small guy in comparison to the giants over here. Guys, I don't know what they put on this milk. Dude, they're coming bigger and bigger and bigger. Yesterday, I was training with one of my students, Tyler, and I was like training with him. He's a young lad. He's in university right now. He's going to be a doctor, studying to be a doctor. I say, Tyler, you are the closest thing from training with a Viking, my friend, I ever had in my life.
We've got a Viking too, man. We've got a Viking. Johnny, shout out to Johnny Grayson, the Viking.
Exactly. So, but in the same token, I have a guy over here. He's been with us for as long as I can remember, since almost like maybe 8 years. And he's about 5 feet tall, Professor Dave. Dude, that guy is the hardest guy for anybody to submit. And he helped me a lot to adjust my game to the minimum spaces and inches. He will find that and he will capitalize on that because he is stocky, but he uses his body so well. I call him cannonball. He's like a ball of power, you know. And I seen this guy taking out like some legit 300 pounders over here, like they're nothing, lifting them over his head, you know, dumping them down. And he's really tough, really incredible. So I think it goes, it's about like how you use your body, really. Of course, when you see a big guy like Roger or like Professor Lagarto or even Professor Braulio, man, they're big, but they also know how to use their bodies really well. But I think there is something special about the small guy that knows how to find little spaces and knows how to use its body well.
Yeah, it's about working to your strengths, isn't it? It's about understanding your strengths, your limitations, and finding. We talk to a lot of our members who are new to jiu-jitsu about developing their own jiu-jitsu. You know, they're learning from me, they're learning from Coach T, but they will develop their own style of jiu-jitsu that's right for them. And that's the beautiful thing for me, that everyone's got their own jiu-jitsu within jiu-jitsu itself, right?
Yeah, like the way I like my reading of that is that jiu-jitsu is a way to express your personality. You know, I can see a lot how somebody is when I see them on the mats. you know, that persona, the way they interact with others, their mat relationship with others, it's pretty much what they are on the outside world. If you look carefully, that's the way to express their personality. You know, there are people that are more reserved. Their jiu-jitsu is more reserved. You know, there are people that are more flashy. You'll see that on their jiu-jitsu too. You know, so I think jiu-jitsu is in essence like a way to express your personality.
Yeah, and I'd like to go back to that and touch on that maybe later on in the podcast, Professor. But I'm sure there's a great story. I think I know a little bit about it from reading. But can you tell us why you wanted to switch from judo to jiu-jitsu?
Oh yeah,
this is a good story.
Yeah. I was I started to, you know, like when you're a kid in Brazil in the 90s, not like today has changed a lot. You know, the kids are in front of their iPads and playing their Fortnites in Brazil as much as they are doing in the UK and in the US and everywhere else in the world. Everywhere. I was in Japan like a few years ago. I went to my students' house and their kids are on Fortnite playing with my kids over here. So like, but back in the day, growing up in Brazil, guys, it's like we fight all the time. We play fighting, we fight. It was fighting on the beach, fighting on the schoolyard. You know, not in a bully way, not in a gang way like we see it. That is a bad connotation today. I would say it was, I think the way we evolved as from our primitive ancestry, like we're trying to find our place in our packs, in our societies, you know. And I think that had to do a lot with that. You know, I didn't see fighting and finding who I was and interacting with others in such a bad way. That is part of human interaction, fighting and forgiving and making new friends. And you know, it was part of growing up for us. It was something natural. But still getting fights all the time, and some way, somehow, I always ended up on the ground. People thought I knew jiu-jitsu, but I didn't. You know, I knew judo. And I thought I knew jiu-jitsu too, but I didn't. I knew judo. So my first girlfriend, she was an Argentinian girl. Her brother was one of my best friends. And when we broke up, we were little kids, right? So you break up with your first girlfriend. It's almost inevitable, you know. I admire the guys that did not. I have a student in Sweden. He married his first girlfriend, and I think that's pretty awesome, pretty remarkable, Professor Nicholas. But with me, it wasn't like this. And once we broke up, very soon she started dating another friend of mine who was a jiu-jitsu kid. But I had like, man, anybody who would tell me about jiu-jitsu, I would have like, I don't want to have anything to do with that. No, I don't want to jiu-jitsu. I know how to kick. I know how to punch. I know how to throw. I know grappling. It's not for me. It's not for me. I'm going to get hurt. Man, I used to surf on the same beach that Marcelo Bering, you know, the legendary Marcelo Bering, late master Marcelo Bering, used to come to surf. Every time he look at me, he say, "Kid, you're built like one of us. You gotta train jiu-jitsu. I'm gonna take you to Barra Grace." He used to say, "It's the closest school over here. I'm gonna take you there." I say, no, I'm okay. One day. But I didn't want to have anything to do with that. Well, now the girl that I love is dating a jiu-jitsu guy, and I say, you know what? I'm gonna train jiu-jitsu too, because I'm gonna go and I'm gonna become better than that guy. I'm gonna beat that guy one day. And I signed up for jiu-jitsu and I started training. But within 6 months, I look around me and I realize, like, wait a minute, I'm no longer here about taking revenge or going after someone. I'm over here because this is the best people I've ever met in my life. They're all genuine. They're all caring for each other. There's a sense of community, friendship, and brotherhood that I never had that in my entire life. The closest thing to that was my own family. But right now I don't have one brother. I have like 20, 30. I want to be like these guys. I want to be like my teachers. I want to stay here forever. And jiu-jitsu then became part of who I was. I couldn't live without that anymore. For me, if I tell you guys that I was there just because I want to be a fighter, it wasn't so much so as I just want to be there because I want to be surrounded by great people, by good friends, and having people that I could trust and count on. So that's what kept me in jiu-jitsu to this day. And I'm so happy and I'm so proud that a lot of my original friends that started training with me, we're still working together to this day, guys. I'm very happy about that. Like how many people out there they can say they've been, working together with their teen days friends, with their high school friends. I don't know many, but most of them still in the picture. So, and the ones that are not in the picture,
story.
They for some reason they branch out or they no longer with Gracie Barra. I still follow them and still admire them. And obviously, we don't interact as much because we are not part of the same organization anymore. But I'm happy that they're still around and they're still doing that. A lot of our friends that chose a different career too, they regret that they chose a different career and not ours.
Professor, you were kind of one of the pioneers for Gracie Barra in Europe. Can you just tell us a bit about what that time was like for you and what were your experiences?
Yeah, I lived in the US briefly. I started doing like some exchanging student programs over here, and I started visiting this family often that we became really attached, and their son came to Brazil to train with me and to live with me there and start going back and forth. And then for a brief period of time, I was back in Brazil. I got my black belt. I won the world championship. So Master Carlos started sending me to different places to disseminate jiu-jitsu because he believed as a small guy, as a skinny guy, I was like maybe I always been between not now I'm a lightweight, but I used to gravitate between super feather and feather. I was a feather cutting to super feather sometimes. And Master Carlos said, man, I gotta send a guy like Escorrega because he's convincible. He's not the biggest guy we have over here. And if people see him applying and working, people will believe in jiu-jitsu, will believe on us. So he started sending me around places to teach. And I lived in Korea for nearly 6 months. When I came back from Korea, I say, man, you know what? I want to travel around Europe a little, perhaps even if I like, I'll move over there. There are like 50 world-class black belts inside Gracie Barra training with me. And I felt like my contribution to what he was trying to do and like all the effort he put on us was for that very, very reason, for us to get out of the country and expand jiu-jitsu around the world. So that was my decision-making point to go and start spreading jiu-jitsu and showing people what Gracie Barra was. And I had a great experience. I lived in Sweden for a while, for a whole semester I was there, and I worked with my students to start the Gracie Barra organization in Sweden.
In Stockholm, Professor, or Gothenburg?
No, we're on the outskirts, maybe 45 minutes, maybe 1 hour from Gothenburg, which is the second biggest city.
I've trained at Gracie Bar, Gothenburg before. Yeah, I've trained
cool.
there. Yeah.
Some really good guys there. I had an opportunity to move to Stockholm, but I want to be close to my guys, you know, and over there already had a good training base, good training partners, good people. And then we worked over there for a while. Things were expanding great. And then we started also a Gracie Barra affiliation in Finland. And then I started, you know, I was teaching a seminar every weekend. Every weekend I was in a different place. I was for a while working with some guys in Italy too, in Rome. You know, I had good friends over there in Rome and Milan. But they didn't, at the time, they didn't join Gracie Barra. They kept doing their thing. And it was a point that, of course, our paths drift away, but I still admire them, and they're great people, good guys. But
tell us sorry, you carry on. So I was just going to ask about meeting Professor Salvo for the first time. I think that's a good story. But...
And that was a funny story. So now I say, you know, I want to, after my stay in Sweden, I went to the UK, applied for college, and started studying there. And I never asked my father for one penny to pay for my studies or anything. Like, since I wasn't a European citizen, I had no free ride on school. I had to pay, and which I had no problem with that. So how am I going to pay for my education? Well, teach Jitz. And I was working first with the Trojans down in the south, in Cheltenham, but eventually I was strictly in an MMA team, and I want to do more jiu-jitsu too. I had some disagreements with the manager of the team. It's just our visions didn't align. You know, they were there for one reason. I was there for something else. I want to fight you. I was like seeing the guys getting better and getting one fighting opportunity after another. Mine would never come. I say, man, so let me do my thing too. You know, like, I'm here to teach jiu-jitsu. So if I'm not gonna get a fight, and it's been here for a year, like, it's time to move on, to do my own thing as well. So then now we started like a little Gracie Barra affiliation in Bristol, and we're working out of a leisure center to begin with. And the class was getting packed very fast. You know, like after maybe 2 or 3 months, we already had like a night packed class every single night. One day, I'm over there teaching the classes. I see a guy coming with a leather jacket, like a silver chain on his neck, with like 4 guys behind him. He's coming in front of everyone, and he comes with an Italian accent and say, "I'm looking for Carlos Lemos Jr." And I'm like, I'm Italian descent too, so I know what that means sometimes, you know. I like, what's going on here? Who is this guy, right? Guy, he looked like somebody that came straight out of a Italian mafia movie, and I was going there to kill me. And he say, "My name is Salvatore Pace, and I like to meet Carlos Lemos Jr." I say, "You're speaking to him." And I told Professor Salvo there. He was Salvo at the time, not Professor Salvo yet. And I told him, like, why you want to train with me? I say, well, I want to train with you because I want to learn Gracie Barra Jiu-Jitsu, and I want to learn from you. I say, where do you train? He say, man, I train with this guy. I think his first name was Alex. Forgive me, I'm missing the guy's last name, but he's far from where I live, and I really want to learn from you. For me, it's really hard to make commitments to train with him. He lives like over 2 hours away from me. And I say, okay, let's see if you're serious about this. You go there and talk to your teacher and ask him if you can come and train by me. And if he says yes, tell him to give me a call and make sure he authorizes you to come by me and start training with me. If not, I'm not going to take you. If you don't want to do that, so then you can't be my student. He looked in my eyes, shook my hand and said, tomorrow you should have his text. And sure, soon enough, man, the guy texted me. I don't remember really if it was a text or a call. I want to say it was a text, and say, "Hey, professor, it's okay for Salvo to train by you. Like he lives close to you, and he really wants to make this move and be together with you." And like we did the old school way, the way I was taught to do things, and Salvo earned my respect right then, right there. And soon enough, we found many similarities about us, and about our families, our history together, and we became like most of my students that have been with me for several years. We became family. We are family for each other. Like his kids call me Tio Carlos, like Uncle Carlos, and my kids call him Uncle Salvo. So
beautiful. What year was it that you landed in the UK then, Professor?
It was in 2005.
Oh, okay. So there was a jiu-jitsu scene already in the UK then. So Professor Browley was there, Hodge was there, Mauricio, and yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't definitely the first one to get to the UK, but I was, I believe, one of the main pioneers in the Southwest. That was almost zero jiu-jitsu over there.
Yep.
Professor, what does it mean for you to be a martial artist?
It means like duty and responsibility. That's what it means to me. Like I think as a martial artist, I have a great deal of compromise with mankind and the society. I have high expectations of myself, and how can I serve others and contribute for a better world. It's, guys, the other day, Professor Romulo Barral came to Chicago to spend some time with me and to teach a seminar in one of my student schools, about an hour from here. So I got him a nice hotel in Chicago for him to stay and rest. Went for a bite to eat. We're walking on the streets of Chicago. Man, the downtown of Chicago it's absolutely beautiful. It's nice, it's classy, it's clean. It's like smaller version of New York, but extremely clean, beautiful, nice shops, excellent restaurants. I was walking around with him on a Friday night. Dude, I was shocked. What I saw on the streets, and I say, this is the world outside our community, how bad it got. And I was very disappointed to see all of that out there,
What did you say? What did you say, Professor? What was it that disappointed you?
Well, dude, I respect people's choices, like everyone there has their own choice to do whatever they want with their lives. But I saw like a whole family, like a father lighting up a big joint of weed with his wife and kids next to him, walking like on the street with that thing like there was nothing. I saw drunk girls outside a bar, like a lot of drunk people and people smoking one cigarette after another outside the bars, like what we see in the UK sometimes too when we go out.
Sure.
And I saw arguments on the streets. I saw a lot of that translates to me to a lot of unhappiness. So I say, wow, the world is changing fast, And I going back to your questions. I believe our job is to empower people, to give them the confidence to know what it's right from what it's wrong. For a lot of people, it's a lack of confidence, and trying to be part of something, and trying to, like I tell my kids, like, look, no matter what you do with your problems, they don't disappear. They just grow. A problem is like a monster. The more you try to hide, the more the monster grows. And you have to tackle your problems head on and face them, and sort them out. So when you have a problem, like, drugs won't want to hide your problem away. They're just going to aggravate everything. Alcohol definitely won't resolve your problems. It's just going to make your problems worse. So that's pretty much what I believe it's our responsibility with the world and our community.
We talk about, when we spoke to Professor Victor, and I reflect on this quite a lot, but we talk about here, we're developing people first. That's what I believe. But the tool we're using for that is jiu-jitsu. So when I see one of my students, it makes me more happy a lot of the time, seeing them develop as people, seeing their confidence develop, their relationships develop, that it does seeing their jiu-jitsu develop. Like, I love to see them do good jiu-jitsu, but actually what I really love is to see that trembling guy who came in a month ago, now standing nice and proud. And I see them walking down the street and they look different and they're more comfortable and they're saying hello to people that they would have definitely not even looked at, a month ago. That, to me, is what I think we're trying to do here. I guess that's the same for you.
It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. Guys, the legends. I'm a self-taught historian. I went to law school. I didn't finish. I bailed out with 1.5 semesters away from my graduation to become a lawyer, because I was getting so busy teaching and traveling and competing that I realized that I was really cheating myself and my parents. Maybe that's why I went back to school in the UK, just to at least, hey, Dad, here we go. I got something here for you to make you proud. But I, like, in law school, you have to read a lot, and I always love to read. I wish I had more time to read nowadays. It takes me several months to finish a book right now just because I don't have time to read. But being a self-taught historian, of course, I research about the history of jiu-jitsu, and one way or another, whether the story you're reading starts in India or starts in Japan, jiu-jitsu has a divine mythological source on every story. It's not an art of the humans. It was an art taught by God or the gods, depending what approach you're learning from. Like one of the legends, it's in Japan, from a samurai from medieval time samurai. And he tells a story that he was a sword master, and one day he had a dream, and he was already on his 60s. And on this dream, he tried to slay an angel, and this angel defeated him with his bare hands. And then on his dream, the angel taught him how to do that. And he wakes up from this dream and starts doing the ceremonial dojo storming across Japan, and he defeats the greatest sword masters of his times just with his bare hands. And that's the birth of jiu-jitsu. For many people in Japan, it's believed, like in the ancient times, that's the birth of jiu-jitsu, because that school was the school where Jigoro Kano eventually earned his black belt from, that school style. So one way or another, when you look at jiu-jitsu, it's a divine art, and it puzzles your mind when you're thinking like, man, every time I try to explain or to make sense out of the benefits of this to someone, nobody can understand if they don't do it. Because you say, look, you're going to enroll on something that's going to make you stronger, but more flexible, but also going to give you a better cardio, but also going to make you more confident. You're going to improve your mood. You're going to, help your social skills with others. You're going to make great friends. You may even find a beautiful girlfriend after you do jiu-jitsu. And people say, no, this guy is a sloppy car dealer. This doesn't sound right. It's too much. It's impossible. And then you say, well, you have an injury. Yeah, I do have an injury. Jiu-jitsu can heal your injury. But how? Jiu-jitsu can heal your injury. You can get injuries that's been haunting you forever. You can heal with jiu-jitsu. And people, they don't believe you unless they do it, and then they see like, wow. So I think this is it's a gift of mankind, and that's the way Grandmaster Carlos Gracie Sr. envisioned. There's this guy right now, man. I think his name is Chaddy. Is this guy that he's a big advocate of judo on the internet. He has this channel on the internet, on YouTube, and I listen to a lot of the things he says, and he's a researcher too. He's a historian, but any opportunity this guy has to bash the crap out of jiu-jitsu, he does it. Any opportunity he has, and to call the Gracie thugs, and to tell that, these are all brawlers, and they should be ashamed of the way they behave. This guy doesn't know the Gracies. This guy doesn't know our history. He thinks he knows, like people like him, they get some half-truths so well that they make it sound like they get half-truths and half-lies, and they make everything sound like truth. But that's not the history. The history was like great Grandmaster Carlos Gracie Sr. had a realization moment one time that he went to his neighbor's mango tree and climbed on the tree to grab a mango. And he was already like a student of Mitsui Maeda, still a kid. And then when he jumps down from the tree to eat his mango, this massive vicious dog comes to tear him apart. He was in somebody's yard. And he chokes this dog out. And at that moment, looking to that animal, he realized how powerful jiu-jitsu was. It saved his life right there. And he decided that from that day on, he would commit his entire life to teach jiu-jitsu to others and to empower others. And, these are not thugs, brawlers, villains. These are heroes. And if we are here today, it's because of their vision and what they did, and the continuity of that. It's Master Carlos with the way jiu-jitsu has to serve everyone.
Yeah, just to finish from our side, Professor. To me, the history of it's relevant, but what I would encourage anyone who's coming into jiu-jitsu to do is to listen and to be around the people that are teaching them now. So I'll just say, for you, Professor, you come across to me, we've never met before, but you come across as a very calm, kind of humble, kind person, right? Professor Victor's the same, my instructor, my professor, very calm, very humble, very kind, very giving. You guys are killers, but you don't need to be killers. You're super kind. So I would just encourage anyone, when they talk and they hear about that stuff, just see the people that are giving them jiu-jitsu, man. That you won't find arrogance. You won't find brawlers. You'll find kind, humble, giving people. These guys don't need to brawl. They just know, right?
100%. Professor Victor is a huge role model, even though he's a little younger than me. I'm so inspired for what he's doing over there and for his amazing jiu-jitsu skills too. I'm really inspired by him. He's a good family man, a good leader, a great teacher, you know, and an exceptional human being. So
Professor.
yeah, but again, you know, the best, like, the way to know how this has contributed into our lives is like, think of all the challenges we all have and all the wars each one of us are fighting every day. Think of that without jiu-jitsu. Think of you without jiu-jitsu. Think of how would you be interacting with your close relatives without jiu-jitsu? What would be your relationship with them? How would you be dealing with stress? How would you be dealing with the trivialities of life, with the challenges of life? You know, and that's a good starting point for us to learn how to appreciate how much this art has changed us all.
For sure. Professor, I know you got to run off, but I'll just sneak in these two real quick. Just so we spoke to Professor Victor, who sent us to Professor Sebastian Garnier, who sent us to Professor Pedro Coelho, who sent us to you. I was wondering if you want to send us to anyone in the Gracie Barra community to speak to. It doesn't have to be well known, but it can be. That's completely up to you, and that you think we should speak to. And also, just when are you going to be in the UK next? You're going to be here soon, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to coordinate right now a trip to the UK from the 19th to August 2nd. This time I want to bring Akimi and Kenzo with me. That would be their first international trip to Europe. They've been in other places with me, but that would be their first trip to Europe, like with their gis on their backs. They went when they were babies, so now the kids they understand. And you know, my daughter has been helping me with classes, and she understands the importance of what I do, and she wants to be part of it. So I want to bring my kids to play some football with Salvas's kids. So we'll put an end on the endless debate: who are better, the Brazilians or the Italians? I mean,
not the English, definitely not the English.
My son, like, he asked me, Dad, do you know the Arsenal? Yes. Do you know Manchester United? Yes. You know Liverpool? Have you been in Liverpool, Dad? Yes. Like, how about Chelsea? Yes, I know. Like, so I think my son loves British football. You know, he really does. And maybe I don't know how our schedule going to be like, but if there will be a game,
will you be teaching seminars when you're on your visits, or is it purely a family visit?
No, I will be teaching a few. When I have the trip confirmed, though, it will be on my social medias. Like, I'll open some spots for some seminars. But for sure, I have like one at the main school in Bath with Professor Salvo, and I may have a few others.
Well, if you do have the time, you know, we'd love to host you here. Absolutely. I mean, we'll just say that now. We'll host you if you have the time, 100%.
Yeah, I'll post on my social media once the trip is confirmed. I'm trying to work to get the kids over. You know, like for me, like my main priority is to make sure they come. So we'll see if nothing changes. Like you guys should learn from me sometime, like maybe in a week or so. It will be out there. Who I would recommend? Man, there's so many great guys for you guys to learn from. You know. I would say for sure Professor Salvo. He's one of the main leaders in the UK. I think he has great stories, and you know, he's a very charismatic guy. You know, I don't know. I think that on top of my mind, if you guys could work the time out, I would say interview some of the guys in Japan, either Professor Naota Kigawa, who is the head of Gracie Barra in Japan, or Professor Ryo Ominami. You know, they know, like 100 years ago, maybe 110 years ago, we were learning from the Japanese, and these two, they're the first generation of Japanese people to learn from us Brazilians. They're both my students. They both learned from me as well. And of course, they're black belts under Master Carlos, but I was I was one of the main teachers of both of them, and I think they'll put up a good interview for you guys. One of them too, or maybe them both.
That'd be really cool
to hear like like their story on how jiu-jitsu was resurrected in Japan. It's very interesting.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely do that.
for sure. Thank you so much for your time, Professor. Hopefully we'll see you soon. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do this again, guys, with more time. I really enjoy talking to.
Yeah, it'd be great to hear about your competition experiences and all that kind of stuff. So let's definitely do it again.
Yeah. Well,
thank you, Professor. Take care. Have a good class today.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Bye.